think one thing we never really think about is the freedom of speech. In America, we take it for granted, and not everyone agrees that we should be able to say whatever we feel like saying and ask whatever questions we feel like asking. In fact, on January 7th, 2015, two men made that very clear through violence. My name is Paul Rogers, and I'm going to tell you about the tragedy that is Suis Charlie. As I stated, on January 7th, 2015, two men, brothers, by the names of Sharif Kouachi and Saeed Kouachi, made it clear that they didn't want us to say whatever we wanted to say. We didn't, but we shouldn't draw whatever comic we wanted to draw, and we couldn't ask whatever questions we wanted to ask. At the Charlie Hebdo building, that published a magazine every month with multiple comics depicting Muhammad, the Islamic prophet, the two men rushed up into the building with guns. They asked the woman in the lobby, "Is this the Charlie Hebdo building?" Terrified, she said yes. They immediately pointed a gun to her head and commanded her, told her, instructed her, however you prefer to say it, to show them the rest of the facility. Terrified, she shows them the rest of the facility. Into the first floor they go. The two men, screaming Allahu Akbar, immediately start gunning down everyone they see. Upstairs, the building was so used to practical pranks being held all around the office that they thought that what was happening on the first floor was just a bunch of firecrackers in an attempt to scare them in another prank. But this clearly was not a prank. So they march onto the second floor. The men open up fire once more, and they all try to hide behind desks, but it doesn't really help. Afterwards, the world was devastated, and 12 men were dead and 11 were injured. The Charlie Hebdo website went down for about 24 hours. And after that 24 hours, the only thing on the entire website was the term Suis Charlie in one image. And that immediately became a very big phrase in social media, translating directly into "I am Charlie." There are multiple gatherings held around the world with this phrase, of course, being its title. International leaders sent their condolences, including our very own Barack Obama, who could be quoted saying, "France and the great city of Paris, where this outrageous attack took place, offer the world a timeless example that will endure well beyond the hateful vision of these killers. Vladimir Putin, Stephen Harper, Angela Merkel, Matteo Renzi, David Cameron, and Tony Abbott also wrote condolences, but for the sake of keeping this a little shorter, I'm not going to go into that much detail." This term became so big that even software companies began to write new versions of their software with the simple title of Suis Charlie. One of these programs was Notepad++, a very simple program. All it really did was read code and write code for you. But even though it was a very small change that only changed the logo of the whole program to be the Suis Charlie with a lizard on it, it sent a very big message, because they weren't the only ones who did this. And this term would go on to be the top trending on Twitter. This entire disaster showed the world how freedom of speech isn't always free, and how two people alone, even for just a split second, can take that right away from us. I hope one day soon we'll be able to say whatever we want, draw whatever silly comic we want, and ask any question without the threat of anyone coming in to hurt us or the ones we care about. Before I get off this podium, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I hope that Suis Charlie would not be written in the history books as a disaster, but more of a checkpoint in which history took a whole new direction towards the freedom of speech. Once Once again, thank you for your time.